So far, the official version says about natural mutations of coronavirus. But the creativity of COVID-19 is no longer in doubt. Scientists all over the world have come to a consensus. Is a laboratory virus. And now the evidence. To start, here's a publication 5 years ago under heading: Scientists have discovered a new deadly flu virus. Biologists have created a virus that can directly infect man and cause his death. Researchers experimented with the creation of a hybrid of coronavirus bat living in China. They crossed the surface protein SHC014 with the SARS virus, which was taken from light bats. The result is a mutant virus. Many did not believe in this news. But the article has a link to the original English language publication in the journal Nature. And despite the fact that in the introduction to this article, the editorial office disallows communication with current events, you can learn a lot from the original publication. Information. The article was signed immediately by 15 authors, 13 of which are related to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. And 2 more are employees of a leading laboratory of special pathogens and biosafety of the Wuhan Institute of Virology. On the pages of the journal, scientists detail the technique of creating an artificial pathogen and checking it ability to infect mice and epithelial cells. Human lungs. As stated in the article, the purpose of this work was study of the potential of diseases caused by SARS-like viruses. Chimeric SARS-like viruses discussed in the article are artificially created hybrid coronaviruses based on SARS with varying degrees of pathogenicity, and they were cultured on Vero E6 cells obtained from the Institute of Infectious U.S. Army Disease. Clearly, studies have been affiliated with this military structures of the states. Human lung cells were purchased under with protocols approved by the board of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. The cultures of these cells are highly differentiated. Human ciliary epithelium and non-ciliary epithelial cells, as well as goblet cells. That is, scientists experienced the possibility of creating the coronavirus to infect a person. 2 artificial coronaviruses were created, synthetic design of chimeric mutant and full-size SHC014 both were approved by the Institutional Committee, University of North Carolina Biosafety Committee and Dual-Use Research of Concern Committee. Very much attention was paid to safety. The researchers themselves, access to the facility was possible only using an electronic card. In addition, all employees received safety training. Use of respirators with an air purifier. Our equipment contains redundant fans, emergency power supply for fans, biosafety cabinets, and freezers. All employees wear special suits, aprons and shoe covers, and on hands, double gloves. A few abbreviations. BSL-3, Biosafety Level 3 Laboratory is the penultimate laboratory level on the pathogen hazard scale. This level already obliges staff training self-quarantined and trained in safe delivery to the local infectious diseases office. Diseases in an emergency. That was the level at the Wuhan laboratory before this study. But in 2015, she was transferred from 3rd to 4th, the highest level of security. This can be understood from the resume of the co-author of the study. Shi Zhenglai posted on the World Society website. Virologists. If in 2013 she was listed as the director of a leading laboratory, Special Pathogens and Biosafety of Wuhan Institute of Virology BSL-3, then in 2015 became vice director, the same research institution already marked BSL-4. In addition, each scientist's contribution to the development of the virus, meticulously described in an article entitled SARS-like, a group of circulating bat coronaviruses demonstrates potential for transition to a person. According to the data, using the inverse method, genetics researchers created a chimeric virus, taking as a basis the very first SARS that in 2002 caused outbreak of SARS. According to the head of the Genomic Engineering Laboratory, MIPT Pavel Volchkov, reverse genetics technology is very difficult, especially when it comes to coronaviruses. The essence of the method is to turn off, change or modify individual genes in the genome and observe how they manifest themselves. The process is long and meticulous, and very dear, and who in the world spends the most funds for such studies? U.S. military biolabs are located all over the world. There are about 400 of them. Billions of dollars are spent on them annually. According to statistics, about 13,000 scientists are employed in specialized laboratories that develop viruses. Military purpose. These developments are underway in the United States sponsored by the National Institutes of Health in Maryland. Such cynicism. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, bacteriological laboratories were created in many former Allied republics. For example, in Georgia it is 1, in Ukraine there are 4, there are also in Azerbaijan, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Moldova. At the same time, the collections were also transferred to the Americans. Pathogens if they remained in the Union republics after collapse of the Union. The fact that these are not ravings by conspiracy theorists is proved by the fact that in 2010, such a laboratory was closed in Indonesia. U.S. Navy units precisely because they were held there. Bird flu experiments that caused outbreak of this disease. Americans refuse to share with the ministry Indonesia's healthcare results of such experiments. And this small country had the mind and will to close the American lab. This is a document from U.S. Patent Services for coronavirus. And of course, advocates of the official natural version note that all this is not relevant to the current situation, because coronavirus is not a separate disease or the virus. This is the name of the whole family. And Covid-19, which arose in Wuhan, is considered separate, but is it really? Even among the burned stepics it does not cause questions. Number of dual-use research patents and documents related to all this. And how many more versions of this virus exist in the military laboratories? Maybe this famous joke is that it's better to wait and not get infected with the coronavirus COVID-19, since in September a new version of COVID-20 will be released, and there is also a COVID-20 in the line. Pro and COVID-20 Pro Plus. Not such a joke? No convention monitoring mechanisms. Biological and toxin weapons do not exist. Americans in 2001 refused to sign a protocol on control measures. And in 2017, Trump signed a permit to begin development new bioweapons based on influenza and SARS. U.S. research laboratories were provided permission to study the influenza virus, MERS and SARS. In addition, methods for creating artificially obtained coronavirus approved by U.S. Research Committee. Dual purpose. For many, it will seem strange that the security services and the backstage conduct experiments that threaten them themselves. Indeed, in the United States, too, the coronavirus is raging. And more recently, the tidbit news was about that in Italy the U.S. Air Force loaded 500,000 on board virus diagnosis kits. This was done secretly, and taking into account the fact that Italy needs these tests like air, it was all more like robbing a colony in an emergency. And more recently, it became known that